everyone. Welcome back to another session. I hope you've been having a great time so far. My name is Clarissa Freeman. I am a Senior Account Manager here at NetBase Quid, and I am joined here today with Bicker, the Senior Marketing Manager at Chili's. We're going to be doing a fireside chat here. Luz, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes. So I'm Luz Bicker. I've been at Chili's for 5 years, as you mentioned, working under the social team. So I'm excited to talk to everyone today about how we brought the Chili's social playbook to life.
Awesome. Let's just jump into this. So what made you guys kind of decide to relook at your social playbook or create this social playbook?
Sure. So we had created a playbook many years ago. Of course, everyone here knows that social changes so quickly, and understanding your audience is key to how your brand operates on social. So we thought it was time, and this playbook, frankly, was overdue, but took some time to bring to life just in order so we can become a best-in-class brand on social.
Awesome. Now, what kind of approach did you guys take as you really kind of started this journey?
Sure. So we took a step back and did an analysis of how we had been operating on all of our platforms. In addition to, it was really important to understand what our fans and followers were wanting from our brand. Of course, we have marketing objectives that we have to hit on, but we're Chili's and we're really fun. So we wanted to understand what our social persona was going to be. If Chili's was a human being, just like the rest of us on social media, what would that look like? How would we act, and what things would we be interested in? So that's what we really wanted to dig deep into to figure out for our playbook.
Awesome. Well, let's dig into this. What were like, how did you kind of start this whole thing as you were, looking into the social strategy and looking into the persona part of this?
Of course. Should I go in? So great question. First, we looked at the social strategy. What is the role of social? What's the role of each network? We know that each one's different. And then we took an analysis of what our social strategy blueprint should look like. What are the channel roles? And then what is the content mix? We know that some things go on some channels that shouldn't go in others. And then we dove into what our social persona is. So how we are, how the brand shows up on social. What are some guardrails for us? We don't want to be everything to everybody. What are our interests? Going back to if Chili's was a human being, what would we be into? How we speak, and then how we visually show up.
Well, let's just jump into the social strategy. I'd love to hear kind of what your thoughts are behind this, how you guys kind of put this together, and then what role maybe NetBase played to help create the social strategy or inform the social strategy.
Of course. So we know that the impact of social on our business, we know that we do two things. We create action so we can drive urgency, whether it's with any marketing objectives or messagings, drive awareness and site traffic in addition to support sales. But we also have a big job of creating advocates and focus on brand relevancy, visibility. We want to fuel engagement on our channels. We don't want to just push content for the sake of pushing content. It's like screaming in a room, just talking to yourself, and no one wants to be that brand. That in the future we can create more qualified customers. So NetBase had a big role in how we understand how we create those advocates for our brand. So what's the role of social for the brand? We know that our brand specifically at Chili's is all about connection. We literally want to just bring people together because we know that this is a fun space for us. And we want to really live out our narrative and expanding of the meaning of Together We Chili's. It's just kind of our Chili's manifesto. So with that, we know that we have a brand idea, which is Together We Chili's. Everyone's welcomed here. Everyone can have fun here, whether it's your family or your chosen family. And then our strategic pursuit as a brand was to create moments of recess that bring us back together. So that really feeds into our social purpose of igniting real moments of community online, which really goes back to the overall brand idea. This leads us to our social strategy blueprint. As I mentioned, we have our brand idea, our purpose, and then our business impact of creating advocates and then creating action. I think we're all tasked with these objectives, whether it's for Chili's or any other brand. And we understood that each platform is different. How I engage on Instagram is totally different than how I engage on Twitter or Facebook or even TikTok. So we knew that we had to really focus our content and tailor it to each of those channels. And through this, we learned that, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, for looking at the different channels, did NetBase or any social listening that you did kind of just inform you how other people were using those channels or interacting with you guys on those channels?
Absolutely. Through some social listening with NetBase, in addition to an audience analysis, which we'll dive deep in a little bit, we learned that our audiences differ vastly. Twitter really wants us to be fun and talk and meet them where they are and talk about the things that they're interested in, whereas we learned that our Facebook audience is obviously very different. They're following us to either understand what's new with the brand or understand any promotions, and that really fed into how we operate from channel to channel.
And for this,
oh, go ahead.
Apologies. For this blueprint that you have now, is this something that's like an internal document that goes from like team to team? So it's not only, let's say, maybe lives with the social team, but it's also for the creative team as in like an information and maybe PR or some of the other, like it goes cross teams?
Yeah, it goes cross-functional all the way to leadership. I think I can only speak for our brand. Leadership definitely has an idea of why don't we talk about the same things on every channel? So, why don't we talk about this promotion everywhere? So this specific slide is a great talking point that we can always lead back to educate them and say, hey, I hear you, but each channel has an objective, a strategy, and this is why we lean into that. But yes, the creative team uses it. Our team who does monitoring and engaging uses it. So we definitely share it across teams.
Then I think that makes a perfect segue into kind of how each of the channels are kind of broken up, right?
Right. Thank you. So as I mentioned, consumer behavior is totally different on every channel. I don't have to teach this group that, but we did want to kind of call out what the expectation for content on each platform is and where Chili's has an opportunity. So we know that on Facebook, we can just be an experience and an extension of their local Chili's. On Twitter, we really see that our audience really likes to see what Chili's point of view is on culture. So whether it's gaming or The Bachelorette or The Real Housewives, we know that our audience really wants us there, thanks to NetBase. Instagram, it's what everyone wants to see, relevant entertainment and perhaps a different take on point of view on culture. And then TikTok, we're kind of new to it, but just championing our Chili heads and fans.
Nice.
This goes into our content mix. It's just more of an internal slide on how we creatively show up on platforms. We know that 70% should be planned. But we've seen some really great wins in this opportunistic content, whether it's the Pope meme that's going viral or it's just trending and we know we have a POV and need to jump in, or whether it's just community management with one-on-one interactions.
Now, Chili's is, kind of a fun brand. You guys put out great content all the time. Did this content mix, after you guys did this whole exercise of the social listening, along with doing the strategy, did this change at all? Did you see more opportunistic as like a bigger portion of it, or any big changes here with how social is obviously changing?
Yes, that's a great question. I think outlining when in the percentages of times where we're planned or opportunistic really allowed us to, use time for the plan, think far ahead of that, but really create a time and space for the team to think through what's opportunistic and what's not. And we have perhaps in the past 2 or 3 months since we started applying this playbook, played in more in that opportunistic content and seen great wins there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like a lot of brands are really trying to figure out the opportunistic point of that and figuring out how to do that well, especially, I mean, with the pandemic, it's almost easier and harder at the same time to kind of figure out, okay, well, how can we kind of jump on something real quick, but also, of course, being really sensitive to whatever's happening culturally as well, too. So that's awesome to hear. Let's jump into that second part. So social strategy seems like was part one, correct?
Correct.
So did social strategy inform social persona, or this was just step number two?
I would just say that this is step number two, and the social persona is really the meat of the strategy.
Awesome. Let's jump into that.
So this was such a fun exercise, and it took us a really long time to land on where we landed, which is the middle class connoisseur, where we're not afraid to embrace our inner basic. We firmly believe that almost anything can be solved with a margarita, and we have extremely sophisticated thoughts on extremely unsophisticated things. Sometimes we live tweet The Bachelorette, and I would say that's a take of a sophisticated thought on it. Not so sophisticated topic. We know that we're here to always have fun. A couple of months ago, maybe more than a couple of months ago, when Taylor Swift came out with her album, we ranked all of her albums, we ranked all of her songs, and we saw great engagement there. This is more for us to identify when there is that opportunistic content, how we show up. We know we're self-aware, we're matter of fact, we're mischievous, we're self-assured, we're easygoing, but we're not necessarily irreverent either. And that's a fine line that we always have to be careful with. And we know that we always deliver enablement, relatability, escape, acceptance, and most importantly, I would say laughs.
I love the laughs part.
This is just a few more guardrails of what we are and what we aren't. I won't go through it. The people who are seeing the slide can see this, but it all goes back to we're a well-natured brand with good humor. We never have bad intentions, and we never want to be polarizing about things that matter. We want to the experts to speak about things that are super serious, and we're just here to have a good time and drink some margs. This is one of my favorite slides, and probably where NetBase had the biggest influence in due to that audience analysis we did. We always knew that people or audiences were interested in music and reality TV and perhaps some sci-fi, but doing that audience analysis really let us know how deep we can go into certain topics. For example, we knew that people were into reality TV, but we really didn't know the power of how much our audience was interested in The Bachelor and, like I mentioned earlier, The Real Housewives. So we know that we can, really ride hard and go deep into those conversations. And then sometimes we'll have some hot takes on things like bingeable sitcoms and some sort of fantasy and gaming and margaritas.
And margaritas, like how every slide is and margaritas.
All about margaritas. This is just a manifestation of how our language shows up, on how we show up with punctuation and emojis and just playful language. And honestly, this lives out throughout the organization, even to like our brand guidelines, even the colors that we use. We have given them chillified names, which is really fun.
Oh, I love that.
An extension of that, sometimes we have super polished content, just like any brand. Ads and promos should be on that side of the scale. And then everything's a spectrum, right? From UGC to just cultural commentary and memes. So we just wanted to highlight that spectrum of very polished content to very raw content, and inform the organization and ourselves that it's okay to play in that raw space, but there's always a time and place to apply that. And lastly, just some examples of how our style visual shows up. On the right-hand side, you can see, one of our chili heads on TikTok, which we leveraged, all the way to the left to really polished, great content that discusses a promotion.
Luz, this is amazing. I have a couple more questions for you. So to be completely honest with everyone, and I'm sure this audience fully understands, a social playbook does not happen overnight. How long did it take you guys to go through this whole, and I'm sure there's even more to the social playbook itself. How long did this whole exercise take you guys as an organization?
This exercise took us about a year, 11 to 12 months, in partnership with our agency. We really just had so many exercises of like looking at celebrity, and if we were a celebrity, what would we sound like, to seeing, like, analyzing all of our content for the past year and putting it on the board and figuring out, like, did this make sense back then to put on this channel or did it not? So I would say many, many hours and a lot of partnership with key stakeholders. But all in all, I think the output is where we wanted it to land.
Awesome. And then do you notice any difference maybe with the synergy of the different teams or the content that you guys are doing with having this, upgraded, I guess is the best way to say it, an upgraded to date social playbook itself within the organization?
Yeah, I do. I think that we made this, and it's a great tool to always lean back on. So, there's brand teams who always want to understand why or why not we're pushing a promotion or a certain campaign on certain channels. And now that this has been laid out and the team has been educated, we can really just leverage it and use it to educate people so they know why things are going live and why they're not. So really, it's just a great buffer for the social team.
And then with the pandemic going on, have you seen success kind of just putting this into place? I mean, I'm sure you guys have already leaned into some of the other cultural things that are happening during this time, such as, hoarding toilet paper, or has any of these new trends that we've seen in the past couple months, have they come into light? Have you guys leaned into those at all?
Yeah, I would say what we've leaned to the most is that opportunistic bucket of content of just having fun and not necessarily making fun of the situation, but like amplifying the human truths of our everyday lives. So just an example would be like, I think we all need a margarita right now, and we can all agree on that. Which is why we went live with our Margarita for Presidente campaign. So I think, this time has been super, super interesting, but really fun for social specifically.
Awesome. Is there any other advice or anything that you would want to give, let's say brands or agencies or anyone that's trying to put together this social playbook?
Sure. My number one advice would be to do an audience analysis. It really opens up your eyes to who your consumers are, who your audience is. Who you are as a personal human being is not necessarily who's following your brand and engaging with your brand. So I think it's really important to remove yourself and look at the data.
Awesome. Well, Luz, I definitely want to thank you so much for your time. Guys, that's all we have for this session. We're looking forward to seeing you guys again tomorrow and following up on some more great sessions. So thank you.